Hamilton sends a warning to the FIA after a 5-place grid penalty. Stroll responds to rumors of retiring, and Williams appeals Sainz's penalty. Do consider subscribing to the channel. Let's get into the latest F1 news. Have you ever felt like you were giving everything, but still left standing alone, disappointed, and questioning your future? That's exactly where Lewis Hamilton finds himself right now. In today's video, we're diving deep into Hamilton's struggles, his lonely and disappointed reflections, and the big question that everyone is whispering about: Ferrari's future in 2026. Stick with me, because by the end, you'll see this isn't just about racing. It's about ambition, frustration, and the risks of chasing history. Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champion, one of the greatest drivers of all time, and yet, in his own words, he feels lonely and disappointed. That's powerful. Why does this matter? Because when legends show cracks, the entire sport shakes. When strong people become vulnerable, it creates tension. We lean in, because if Hamilton is struggling, what does that mean for the rest of Formula One? Right now, Hamilton is struggling with more than just lap times. He's questioning decisions, searching for trust, and desperately hoping the future looks brighter than the present. Now let's talk about Ferrari. Hamilton's move to Ferrari for 2025 sent shockwaves through the sport. For some, it was a fairy tale, the most successful driver of the modern era, joining the most iconic team in F1 history. But dreams often come with doubt. Ferrari hasn't won a driver's championship since 2007. They've promised progress, they've promised vision, but so many times fans have been left heartbroken. So here's the question: did Hamilton trade the comfort of Mercedes for another painful cycle at Ferrari? Or is he betting everything on 2026, when new regulations could rewrite the order completely? That's the year everything could change. New engine regulations, new chassis philosophies, a reset button for the entire sport, and Ferrari's future hangs in the balance. Hamilton knows it, the team knows it, and the fans know it. Humans crave certainty, but sport thrives on uncertainty. The more we don't know, the more invested we become. And right now, Formula One in 2026 is one giant unknown. Will Ferrari finally rise to the top again? Or will Hamilton's gamble look like the biggest mistake of his career? Let's zoom back to Hamilton's mindset. When he says he feels lonely, it's not just about sitting in the cockpit. It's about trust. He's leaving behind a Mercedes family he's been with for over a decade. The engineers, the strategists, the people who helped build his dynasty. At Ferrari, he'll be the outsider, the newcomer, the man expected to deliver miracles. That's pressure on a whole different level. Pressure reveals character. Fans don't just want to see Hamilton win. They want to see how he handles the weight of expectation. Will he break under it or rise to it? Now let's flip the perspective. What does Ferrari get out of this? They're not just signing a driver. They're signing a leader, a global icon, and perhaps the greatest motivator in the paddock. Ferrari's challenge isn't just technical, it's cultural. They've often been accused of political infighting, of lacking direction, of stumbling when it matters most. Hamilton's arrival forces them to change. It demands unity. And if there's one person who can inspire belief inside that red garage, it's Lewis. But what if it all falls apart? Picture it. Hamilton joins Ferrari, but the car isn't fast enough. The strategies collapse. Red Bull, McLaren, or even Mercedes dominate again. Suddenly, the fairy tale looks more like a nightmare. The fear of failure keeps us hooked, because deep down, fans know the risk is real. Here's something most people overlook. Hamilton isn't just racing for himself. He's racing for millions of fans who believe in him. When he says he feels disappointed, the fans feel it too. When he dares to dream about Ferrari glory, the fans dare with him. This emotional connection is why Hamilton's journey matters so much. Because when he steps into that red car, it won't just be him chasing victory. It'll be an entire movement. So, let's circle back. Hamilton is lonely, he's disappointed, but he's also daring. And the big question for 2026 is simple. Will Ferrari finally give him the car to fight for number 8? Or will this be the gamble that defines the twilight of his career? Nobody knows the answer. But that's exactly why we can't look away. So, what do you think? Will Hamilton and Ferrari rise together in 2026? Or will history repeat itself with more heartbreak in red? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your predictions. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more F1 deep dives, and share this with a friend who's counting the days until 2026. Because whether you love Hamilton or doubt him, one thing's for sure. The story of his Ferrari adventure is just getting started. Imagine Formula One races being cut in half. Fewer laps, less endurance, but the same high-speed drama. Would that make the sport more exciting, or would it destroy everything that makes F1 special? Recently, the idea of shorter races has been floating around in Formula One circles, and Max Verstappen has made his feelings crystal clear. What he said might surprise you, or maybe it won't. Either way, it sparks a massive debate about the future of F1. Today, we're diving into Verstappen's response, what shorter races could mean for Formula One, and why this debate is about much more than just lap counts. By the end of this video, you'll have a new perspective on where F1 could be heading. Formula One has always been about more than just speed. It's about strategy, endurance, tyre management, and split-second decision-making. Races are designed to test both the car and the driver to their absolute limits, but not everyone agrees that longer is always better. Recently, fans and F1 bosses have debated whether shorter races or more sprint-style formats could keep the action fast and appealing to younger audiences with shorter attention spans. When Verstappen was asked the golden question, should F1 races be shorter, his answer was blunt: no way. In his eyes, Formula One is supposed to be about long, grueling races. Cutting down the length would strip away the very essence of the sport. To him, it's not just about giving fans a quick adrenaline shot. It's about the journey, the strategy, and the endurance that make a win truly meaningful. This is coming from a driver who dominates the sport. Max has nothing to gain from longer races being easier or harder. What he wants is to preserve Formula One as a complete test of excellence, not just a sprint to the finish. So why does this debate even exist? The reality is that attention spans are shrinking. Younger audiences are growing up on TikTok clips, highlight reels, and short-form content. Formula One knows this. That's why we've seen sprint races introduced. They're shorter, more intense, and they give fans action right away. No waiting around for strategies to unfold. The push for shorter races is really about entertainment. It's about making F1 more digestible for the casual fan. But making the sport easier to consume might also mean losing what makes it unique. This is exactly what Verstappen is pushing back against. He's saying if you want short and flashy, there are other motorsports for that. Formula One should stay true to its roots. Here's where psychology comes in. Why do some fans love the idea of shorter races while others hate it? It boils down to how we process excitement. Shorter races give instant gratification. You don't need to wait an hour to see big moments. They come fast and early. That's perfect for people used to high-speed content. But longer races give something else: delayed gratification. The tension builds lap after lap, and when a big overtake or dramatic twist finally happens, the payoff feels 10 times more satisfying. It's the same reason why binge-watching a full TV series feels more rewarding than just watching a short clip. Fans are split between these two psychological needs, and that's why this debate has no easy answer. So let's imagine for a moment. What if Formula One did make races shorter? Drivers would probably push flat out from the start, with less focus on tyre conservation. Strategy would play a smaller role, since pit stops and tyre management might not matter as much. Races would feel more like sprints, explosive but maybe less layered and complex. Would that make things more exciting? Maybe in the short term, but it could also make every race feel the same, with less drama and fewer chances for big comebacks. That's exactly why Verstappen is so against it. For him, Formula One's charm is in the chess-like battles, the long-term strategy, and the endurance it takes to pull off a win. This whole discussion reveals something deeper about the sport. Formula One isn't just racing, it's an identity. It's tradition, prestige, and history. Every lap, every pit stop, every second of endurance is part of what makes an F1 win feel monumental. Changing race lengths might attract new fans, but it also risks alienating the diehards who have loved the sport for decades. The big question is, should Formula One adapt to modern entertainment trends, or should it stay true to its roots? And if even a driver like Max Verstappen, who thrives in the current system, feels strongly about keeping races long, maybe that tells us something about the direction Formula One should or shouldn't take. So, what do you think? Should Formula One races be shorter to keep things snappy, or should they stay long to preserve the strategy and endurance that make the sport so special? It's drama, it's uncertainty, and it's completely untrue according to Stroll himself. Stick around as we unpack what was claimed, how Stroll responded, and what it all means for him, for Aston Martin, and for the bigger picture of a driver under fire. Let's dive in. Picture this: a live TV broadcast in Brazil. A journalist drops a bombshell. Lance Stroll allegedly asked his dad to pull the plug on his F1 career not once, but twice. If true, that would shake the foundation of his entire racing narrative. That's not just a headline, that's a psychological moment, and moments like that demand a response. Let's set the scene. Over the Dutch Grand Prix weekend, a Brazilian journalist, live on air, suggested that Lance Stroll had twice sought retirement from F1, and that his father, Lawrence Stroll, blocked the requests. The claim was simple: he wanted out. Twice. In Formula One, where every word is weighed and every reaction magnified, this kind of rumor spreads like wildfire. The psychology is clear: humans are wired for drama. We notice the negative, the shocking, the whispers of collapse. But is that drama always true? This is where Lance steps in. So what did Lance say? When Planet F1 asked him ahead of the Italian Grand Prix, his reply was cold and clear. He said, "I had no plans on doing that." Not sure where that came from. I guess he needed something to say. I had no plans on it, boom. One sentence, two important points. First, denial. Not defensive, not emotional, just calm. Second, questioning the origin, suggesting that the journalist simply needed something to talk about. Psychologically, that's a smart defense. No emotional overreaction, no vindictiveness, just clarity. A reader or viewer senses confidence, and we are far more likely to believe someone who sounds sure of themselves. That's how credibility grows, especially in an environment like Formula One where perception is power. Now, let's add a little context. Lance Stroll has endured career scrutiny before. Since debuting with Williams in 2017 and then moving to what became Racing Point, now Aston Martin, he's had flashes of brilliance. A famous pole at the 2020 Turkish Grand Prix, several podiums, but consistency has been elusive. He has also raced under the constant shadow of his father's ownership. From day one, critics asked, is the seat earned or inherited? So every misstep, every slump in form, every rumor, big or small, becomes a potential narrative twist. The story writes itself, the billionaire's son under pressure. And this isn't even the first time retirement rumors popped up. Back in February, suspicions surfaced again, this time about a possible switch to tennis. Stroll laughed it off, joking, "I'm really not that good at tennis," and clarified that he was firmly committed to Formula One. Same psychology. Diffuse a rumor with humor and denial. When you deprive a rumor of oxygen, the public moves on. So, what's the bigger picture here? For Lance himself, this shows that he's aware of the narrative, and he's keen to control it. He's not retreating under pressure, he's confronting it directly. For Aston Martin, this is about stability. A publicly wavering driver does not instill confidence, especially with the team's massive ambitions for the future, big technical hires, and the shakeup expected in 2026. And for fans and media, it's a reminder that Formula One is never just about wheel-to-wheel action. It's about stories. Reputation is shaped off-track as much as it is on track. A single rumor can create a storm of questions. A single denial can calm it all down. Stroll's firm words closed the door on this particular rumor, but also open another. Because now everyone is watching. If he's not retiring, then what's next? Can he prove the critics wrong on the circuit? Can he silence the narrative not with words, but with results? And that's where the tension lies. In Formula One, every driver carries a story. For Verstappen, it's dominance. For Hamilton, it's legacy. For Alonso, it's defiance. For Lance Stroll, it has become about survival and perception. Every podium is proof. Every bad weekend is fuel for critics. Every rumor is a test of composure. So where does this leave us? Stroll has denied the claim outright. He's still an Aston Martin driver. He's still motivated, and he's still determined to show that his place in Formula One is more than just a result of his father's empire. Whether he can turn that determination into consistency and results on track, that's the real challenge. So there you have it, a rumor dropped. Stroll shut it down. But in F1, every shutdown is also a new starting point, because perception shapes everything, and the next race, the next headline, could shift the entire narrative once again. What do you think? Was this just sensationalist media doing its job, or is there more going on behind the scenes than Lance wants to admit? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next twist in the Lance Stroll saga, or the next Formula One headline we dissect. Imagine gearing up for your first home race with a legendary team. The lights, the cameras, the tifosi roaring, and then suddenly, you get hit with a brutal penalty after the race. That's exactly what Lewis Hamilton faced heading into Monza. He called it pretty hardcore, and today we're breaking down the full story. His shock, his frustration, and most importantly, how he turned it all into motivation. What happens when a 7-time world champion admits he was really, really shocked by a grid drop? How do you take a setback that feels unfair and turn it into fuel to push harder? This is not just a story about racing, it's a story about resilience, psychology, and the mindset of a champion. The news broke when Hamilton landed back home after the chaotic Dutch Grand Prix. The stewards handed him a 5-place grid penalty and 2 penalty points on his license for not slowing enough under double-waved yellow flags. It wasn't even during the race, it was on a reconnaissance lap. Hamilton admitted he lifted, but not to the stewards' liking. When asked about it, he didn't hide his feelings. He said, "I was really, really shocked. It's obviously not black and white. I did lift, but to their liking, not enough." Calling it pretty hardcore was an exaggeration. It was raw frustration. That moment of disbelief set the tone heading into Monza, and this penalty came on top of a weekend that was already a nightmare for Ferrari. The Dutch Grand Prix ended in disaster. Hamilton aquaplaned at turn 3 and crashed into the barriers, ending his race early. His teammate Charles Leclerc also crashed out after a collision with Kimi Antonelli. Ferrari left Zandvoort with 0 points and 2 wrecked cars. For a team building momentum, it was a gut punch, but there was still a silver lining. Ferrari boss Fred Vasseur said Hamilton's pace that weekend was strong and that his confidence was returning. Even though the race ended in chaos, there were signs of progress. That context makes the penalty sting even more. It wasn't just bad luck. It was a combination of setback after setback, piling on at the worst possible moment. Now let's pause here. Imagine being Lewis Hamilton in that situation. You've joined Ferrari, you're heading into your home debut at Monza, the most passionate crowd in Formula One. And suddenly, not only are you carrying the weight of Tifosi expectations, you're starting the weekend with a 5-place grid drop. That's enough to rattle anyone. Hamilton admitted that qualifying is already so tight that just reaching the top 10 is a fight. Add a grid penalty on top of that, and the hill looks even steeper. But here's where things get interesting. Instead of sulking or dwelling on it, Hamilton chose to pivot. He said there was no point whinging about it. He accepted the penalty and then reframed it. His words were, "It gives me more to fight for." That one line reveals everything about his mindset. He turned the punishment into a challenge. He turned frustration into fuel, and that's the kind of psychology that separates champions from the rest. This wasn't just about one race. It was about what kind of story Hamilton wants to write at Ferrari. Monza, the Temple of Speed, is Ferrari's holy ground. Every driver who wears red feels the pressure of the Tifosi. Delivering a comeback drive from lower down the grid could be the spark that redefines his season. And the truth is, sometimes the pressure of starting behind forces a driver to dig deeper, focus harder, and take bigger risks. That's why so many legendary drives in Formula One history come from moments of adversity. So what do we learn here, beyond the penalty and the race? We learn about the psychology of resilience. First, there's the shock to acceptance conversion. Hamilton didn't pretend he wasn't upset. He admitted being stunned and then moved on. That honesty, followed by acceptance, is a textbook way of reducing stress. Second, there's reframing adversity. By saying it gives him more to fight for, he turned a negative into a motivational trigger. Third, there's intrinsic motivation. Hamilton knows the Tifosi will be watching. He knows what Ferrari means to the sport. That pressure doesn't just weigh him down, it drives him. Fourth, there's confidence rebuilding. Vasseur's comments that his confidence is coming back give Hamilton an anchor to build belief on. And finally, there's the growth mindset. He treats mistakes and setbacks as learning, not failure. These are the traits that allow elite athletes to perform under extreme pressure. And let's not forget, Hamilton is no stranger to controversy or setbacks. Over his career, he's faced criticism, penalties, crashes, and heartbreak. But his defining trait has always been how he responds. When he says, "I'll move forward," it's not just talk, it's a battle plan. He knows that in Formula One, mindset is half the fight. If you crumble under pressure, it shows on track. But if you channel it, you can produce magic. So here's the bigger picture. Hamilton got hit with what he calls a pretty hardcore penalty. He was shocked, even frustrated, but he didn't stay there. He shifted gears mentally, and now, instead of dragging into Monza weighed down by negativity, he's carrying fresh motivation. The stage is set, the Tifosi are waiting, the Temple of Speed is ready, and Hamilton has turned the penalty into his reason to fight. The question is, can he climb through the grid and deliver a result that sparks Ferrari's season? Can he take this setback and turn it into a story of redemption? That's the drama we'll all be watching unfold. If you believe in comebacks and love the idea of Hamilton delivering a masterclass under pressure, make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe if you want more F1 breakdowns and insights, and let me know in the comments. What would you do if you were handed a 5-place penalty before your home race? Would you crumble under the pressure, or would you rise to the occasion?